Hey there, I'm Jen Therian, and I'm so glad you're here. I'm a former 9-to-5er that dove into entrepreneurship 8 years ago with zero business experience. I'm a wife, mama of 2 young girls, boutique owner, jeweler designer, and now the proud owner and coach leading Goldie Links Permanent Jewelry. I have a passion to empower fellow business babes. This podcast is made to equip you with everything you need to succeed, from actionable marketing steps to digging deep on your mindset. I know firsthand the heart, hard work, and let's be real, at times a struggle that makes up this amazing journey. You want to know what has enabled me to shine the brightest? Coaching plus community. Here at Goldie Links, we share openly, educate, and lift each other up. Expect to get linked with fellow PJ owners that will do just that, sprinkled with plenty of fun along the way. Competition is an old school thought, and connection is the way. Get ready to feel inspired. Welcome to the Goldie Links podcast. I wanted to make an episode answering a question that I probably get the most when it comes to having your own permanent jewelry business. So I get this in person, a lot through my DMs and my website, because obviously, if you don't know, Goldie Links, I do offer it as a franchise where you can have your own Goldie Links business. So I have trained other women who do not want a Goldie Links business. And I've also obviously have my Goldie girls that I've supported and helped grow their Goldie Links business over the last year and a half. So through having my own permanent jewelry business and supporting the women and training the women that I have, these are the 3 things that I have found have been almost basically necessity, in my opinion, for having a successful permanent jewelry business. So let's start with number 1. Maybe the obvious one, but you have to like permanent jewelry. Like you might see something where it's an opportunity. Like this is a trend. You see maybe it's not really in your area yet, and you almost want to jump on it, right? Because you see the profit margin, you've done some research, and it seems to be a promising business. This is how I feel. There was a couple times I was approached with a network marketing, like an MLM business, and I have nothing against those businesses. I think they're amazing. There's some amazing ones out there. There was one in particular I remember getting approached with, and she was saying how it's a new opportunity. And this is the way she was kind of selling me, quote unquote, on this business, is because she didn't really love the product, but she loved that it was like getting in on the ground up of this, going from the beginning of this business, being that you can build your team. It's new. This is something to really jump on now before it gets big. And I remember just being so bothered by that. This is years ago, before permanent jewelry. And I'm always interested in different business, opportunities or different products. Like if there's something that I love, like I'm willing to try it. So I did order a bunch of these products, and I'm not kidding. I hated them. Like I did not like them. And she admitted that she didn't like them either. But she was like, I am interested in the business opportunity. I'm not interested in the product, which I found really troubling to me. It didn't feel true to me. It didn't feel authentic. I'm like, I can't stand behind this product that I'm just doing because like I see that it's like a business opportunity versus me really loving what I'm selling and representing, right? So with permanent jewelry, I'm not saying you have to be obsessed with jewelry. For me, being a franchise owner, and that's my job. My job is to be obsessed with jewelry. My job is to provide and do the research and provide you and with the knowledge of what the best chains and findings are, to create findings, to always be on the lookout for new trends, because that's how my mind works. I'm obsessed with jewelry. I have been for a while. I've been making it for a while. I did a recent interview actually with Michelle from Bonded in Charlotte. And I was asking her, like, have you always loved jewelry? And that's actually one of the questions I do ask, because I just want to get like a base of like how does someone get into permanent jewelry? What was appealing to them? And she was like, honestly, not really. But when I was introduced to permanent jewelry, I loved the meaning behind it, the connection behind it, seeing like the people that were coming in and what was happening and how it was much more than jewelry. And of course, do I love the convenience of it? Like for me, yes, I love it. I love that I have jewelry on all the time, but it's not like I was already pre-existing obsessed with jewelry prior to permanent jewelry. And again, that's okay. But she loves what permanent jewelry stands for. She loves the ease. She loves the lightweightness of it, the quality, the fact that you don't have to worry about it. It's always on. These are factors that, like, again, you have to love whether it be jewelry, what permanent jewelry stands for, what it does for people. I feel like if you don't love it and you don't want to wear it yourself, It's going to be really hard. It might be fine in the beginning when you're getting started and this is just a fun, exciting new thing. But if you've ever done anything like that before, you know that maybe it was exciting in the beginning, but you realize, and I've had many friends too start businesses that realize, yes, okay, I like doing this. Maybe like I enjoy candles. I love burning candles. Do I want to make candles? Maybe it was fun in the beginning, but honestly, do I want to do this all the time? Do I want to dedicate my time if I want to create this really successful business in candles and making candles to be like talking about it and researching and finding new methods and, and just posting about it all the time and kind of really having this passion of candle making if I were to have my own candle making business? No. I appreciate candles. I don't mind doing it on the side as a hobby, but really, it's not my passion. I don't see anything like deeper than just loving a candle and burning it and the whole not living it, not living in the candle making life and the candles being my life, right? It can be interesting and something new is always fun and interesting for a period of time. But if you don't truly see and really appreciate the meaning and the connection piece of it, or just the beauty part of it, or just the fact that you're obsessed with jewelry, there has to be something I feel about permanent jewelry that really lights you up in order to be a long standing, sustainable, successful business. Number two, you have to like people. That is one of the things I talk about, and even in the first episode, my personal episode, talking about why I feel permanent jewelry is just oh my gosh, it's like a culmination of all these things I had been searching for prior in my prior business. The connection piece of permanent jewelry, the meaning behind the jewelry, obviously already existing loving jewelry, but the connection piece, that's why it's people. I missed people. There was a time in my life, like I know that I love talking to people. I do. I love the energy of it. I love learning from other people. I'm not a fan of small talk. I'll get right down into the nitty gritty of like having a deeper conversation. These are things I really crave. Like I really crave that in my life. And I realize that's one of the things I love about business. I love pretty things. I still do love having a boutique, but really what lights me up is when I actually talk to customers, I find out what they want, I'm fulfilling a need. And honestly, permanent jewelry, having an existing boutique business prior to, and although it's not my own brick and mortar, they are inside merchant market. So I'm not forced to be there every day working my boutique. Having said that, I've done many markets. I've met my customer in many different ways, and I do work at the shop so many days a week that I have had, of course, that experience. But nothing beats permanent jewelry. You are forced to be in front of somebody putting on jewelry with them, and it's not about the transaction. Whereas, like maybe, of course it's important. Your environment's always important. When you go into a boutique, most likely your favorite boutique that you go to, a brick and mortar, it's because you love the way you feel when you go in there. Whether it be everybody is just so nice, whether it be just such a beautiful place. Like, I don't know how you feel about if you've been to an Anthropology. That is like therapy for me. I will walk around Anthropology. I get so inspired. It's so beautiful. They're always doing something different, though. Even just the displays. I mean, it's just like there's a feeling when you walk into Anthropology, okay? If you can admit, there's a feeling you get. It's a different feeling when you walk into a Walmart versus a Target. There's a different feeling when you walk into a Walmart versus an Anthropology. There are different, different feelings when you walk into, you can name all these different stores in your mind and how you feel differently when you walk into their store, right? Obviously, too, we have to love the product, right? We're going into Anthro because most likely we love like also what they offer, With permanent jewelry, there's a lot of permanent jewelers out there. Yes, we offer different things, but most likely, I mean, these are all simple chains, right? So you can find the same chain in a lot of different permanent jewelers in your area. What it comes down to is how you make them feel. I had a girl who was talking about she really wanted to she was big on the time that she put on bracelets. She was concerned with being fast. And I was like, I get that. But at the same, because she was really concerned with certain chains she didn't want to add to her inventory because she felt it slowed her down. And then I was like thinking to myself, well, what is she really, again, I understand people are coming to the intention of one of the intentions is to get jewelry, but most likely people are not coming to get permanent jewelry just to have this dry experience where someone doesn't even talk to you and they just put this piece on you and you walk away and you're happy. It's an experience. The whole thing is an experience. More likely than not, someone's coming with somebody they care about, their friend, their mother, their daughter. I've had 4 generations come together. I mean, I can name so many stories and nothing I've never had a boutique experience like that where someone has come in with their whole family shopping together. And so again, it does play into the experience walking into a boutique or a store of how you feel, but it is so elevated and so much more important when it comes to permanent jewelry. It is an in-person experience. And so to me, to sit down and have a conversation and actually feel like I'm, honoring that they're there, I appreciate they're there, I'm treating everyone like they're the most important person in that moment to me, and just really appreciating and asking questions. Oh my gosh, who are you with? Oh my, this is your best friend. Hearing their story of how they were friends and just the family situation of when they come in, and and really just treating and really honestly, I don't do this as a marketing. That is truly who I am. I am interested in these people sitting down in front of me. I honestly care. And I mean, people are amazed at when I can remember what I could tell you what I had for breakfast. I will forget the craziest stuff because my mind is always everywhere. But I do remember specific details when someone tells me a story. Like, say I have a lot of repeat customers and they'll come back and be like, oh my God, I can't believe you remember that. I'm like, oh yeah, because you were the one that you went to California and you guys were doing this. And she's like, how do you remember that? But I will remember these things because I truly do like people. I really like hearing stories. I really do get invested and interested in what they have to say. I don't look at them as like just a dollar sign coming to, that I'm going to make X amount of money from. Of course, we all need to make money doing this, but really it has to be in order for it to be fulfilling for you also, which I feel like is the number one most important thing in having a business. Success to me, I mean, I think we go right to typically success meaning monetary money. And honestly, it will be really hollow if that's the only way you gauge success, right? So for me, it's really fulfilling to know that I'm like, these people are walking away with a great experience and they have this permanent piece they're going to look down at and not only remember they got it with their best friend, but the feeling they got from the permanent jeweler they gave it to them. And word of mouth is the strongest form of marketing. I will say that all day long. I think the way I've grown my business is by treating my customers like, again, like they're the most important person. Like, think of someone that you are obsessed with, whether it be Taylor Swift, whether it be, I'm trying to think of someone right now, Oprah, because Oprah's always been kind of like real high for me. Okay. Real high. If treating everyone like literally they are the person that you would die if they sat in front of you, right? Like they are the most important person. Okay. And I can't tell you how many people come to me and I'm like, where did you hear about this? Because I'm always asking that too. I want to know, did you find this on Instagram? Oh my gosh, my neighbor told me about you. She loved it. Like it's a lot of word of mouth. I would say honestly, 75% of people that come to me are either repeat or they have been heard about from someone else. And you better believe if you went to somebody who was just fast about putting on a bracelet, didn't even talk to you, didn't seem interested in you, didn't really care, just wanted you to pay and walk away, do you think that they'd be telling their neighbor and bragging and just like really excited about? And I feel like I constantly hear that. And I have to say, I truly feel it's because I love people. And you are there's no way to not do permanent jewelry and not be in front of people. That's bottom line. So and not to say, and someone who's more shy or an introvert, it's not about that. It's you are one on one in front of people. So you're not in a big crowd. You're not, and yes, don't be wrong. After a long day of permanent jewelry, even for me, I consider myself, I guess, if you could say an extrovert, but honestly, I also need my alone time. I need time to like fill my cup. Sometimes when I come home and my girls are like, blah, when I walk in the door and I've had a really busy pop up and I'm talking to people nonstop, it can be. It's like I need time to kind of like to myself and just feel like just to recharge, I guess, right? But so even being, if you're someone who I feel is a little bit more shy or really just focusing on, and again too, like when I'm at pop-ups and say it's really busy and there's a line and I'm like, oh my gosh, I could totally let this like frazzle me, I always focus on just the person I'm with. It doesn't matter, nothing else matters. And honestly, coming from, if I'm speaking to a person that you feel like, oh, I'm a little like shy, I don't really love, I'm not the person that will go up to anybody and have a conversation with them. That's fine. It doesn't matter. That doesn't mean you don't like people. That just might mean that like, you're not that person to be outgoing, but can you and do you like to have conversations with people? Do you find interest in talking to people? I think that is more important, right? And focusing on the one person in front of you, because you can only do one thing at a time when it comes to permanent jewelry. You cannot be working on three people at once. So as long as you're like really, like I said, making that person feel good and you enjoy that and you enjoy people, then this is great. Permanent jewelry is great. That's the one thing I have to say, and I'll end this part with saying this. Like for me, that has been one of the biggest, like the biggest joy probably in doing permanent jewelry. I wouldn't say the biggest, maybe one of the big. It's so hard to number them because, of course, I love the connection piece and what these meaningful pieces probably is number one. But the fact that I get to go into these small businesses and have the honor of like seeing and meeting the owners and being in people's homes and like seeing these great fun parties with their friends and knowing that I'm a part of making this party fun and like and creating these connections and that it's like that is what I love and has brought me so much joy in doing permanent jewelry. So that's number two. Number three, time. So I know a lot of times people will take this as a side hustle and they're like, oh, just like a big good side hustle. Not saying it can't be a side hustle. It can. I'm not really great at doing anything side hustle. For me, of course, this became right away my new passion, but again, I was already an entrepreneur. But if you have a full-time job right now and you want to do this as a side hustle, a lot of things come into play, whether or not you even have a full-time job, but just honestly considering all different like walks of life, just thinking about what your time looks like. Are you a mother? Do you have a lot of support? What are you doing on weekends with your kids? Or if you are, have a full-time job, are you working a lot on weekends? Like, what does that look like? Are you on call? Do you travel a lot? Like, okay, so you have to think too, depending on too where you want to take this. This is the beauty of having a business and also having a permanent jeweler business. You can make it as busy or as slow as you want it to be. So you can create a side hustle. You can do things just so you decide, like, I want to make an extra like $500 to $1,000 a week, just, and try and book like a party a week or do a pop-up a week. And that's good enough, right? Because it's your side hustle. It's actually something fun for you to do because again, it's like getting you into another group in front of people and, just sounds fun. Then great. I think that if you were to make it, if you are looking for this to make you higher income and kind of be your one source of income, and depending on again how what your goal is of how much money you want to bring in from this, how much ideally time do you have to dedicate to this? Keep in mind, if you start this way, if you're doing pop-ups and parties, and even regardless, even if you were right to having a brick and mortar, most of this is a lot of people do this on weekends, right? So are you able to have at least one weekend day where you can do a party or a pop-up or have your brick and mortar be able to have appointments? Do you have some evenings free? Because most likely, don't get me wrong, I've had parties all across the board. I mean, of course, I've had early parties on Saturdays where they start at 11 or 12, like noon. But most likely the weekday parties, right, are in the evening. And then, considering that, when I talk to a lot of women that want to get started are moms with young children. And are you to that point where you're going to soccer all weekend? Do you have the support? Do you have someone? Luckily enough, my husband is at a place with his job that he is able to be with my girls when I do a pop-up or party and I'm gone for 4 to 5 hours on, the weekends. And whereas before, before I even started this business, he was working so much. He was working all weekend. There would have been no way, honestly, I could have started this business because I don't have a grandparent. We don't have family close. There's no one we can rely on consistently to be like, hey, can my girls, be watched by you for 5 hours, right? So it is something that, I've been lucky enough and blessed enough to have the support of my husband. And also too, when I have weekday situations, he can be home a little bit earlier on some days if I have to go to a pop-up by 4 o'clock that day. So it has worked for us because of the schedule we currently have. But having said that, my girls are 3 and 5. I know that as I get them in more activities, and I've said this before, I know that it might change. And this is the beauty of it though. I can say no to things or be like, no, sorry, I have this soccer game and can't do earlier, but I can do later. And I might have to say no to more things. And I know that might affect my income. But also, as I know that I have this period of growing my business and hopefully just being in front of more eyes and having more inquiries, which I am as time goes on, that I can be able to be a little bit more selective and then give parties that I can't do to my local Goldie girls, or even honestly, even if my local Goldie girl Madison can't do a party or pop up that I cannot do, which has happened between us a lot lately. If either she's booked, so she gives me something, or I'm booked and I give her something. But honestly, even just local permanent jewelers, and reaching out to them and being like, hey, we can't do this, and this person really wants this party. I'm going to offer it to them. These are just things to consider. Ideally, how much time, and not only just physically in person pop up and parties, but also just the time during the week. Again, depending on how big and how you want this business to be. When are you going to have time to walk into businesses, let's say, if you want to schedule pop-ups and be able to introduce yourself, and or take the time and do some research in your area and even send out even DMs, right? Post on Instagram, like doing all these things that we have to do for business. As if you, when you get further into it, you have to wear many hats. And, really, I feel like one of the biggest things that businesses want to know is how to get in front of their customers, like how to get more eyeballs on your business, right? So, are you going to have time to dedicate into doing that? Whether it be social media, whether it be spending time creating a website and focusing on your SEO and creating a Google profile, like all these options you have into like networking, going into a networking event, maybe contacting and being a part of markets, contacting local influencers. Like these are things that we all have to consider in growing our business, because from one of my mistakes, thinking too in the past of like, oh, I'll grow this website and then they will come. It doesn't work that way. Also with permanent jewelry, it's so great to be out in your community, because again, this is a lot of word of mouth. This is a lot of talking to people. And if you're not afraid to walk into a boutique and to let people know what you do, again, that's gonna take you really far. When you just are wanting and willing to talk about it, putting it out there, asking your friends and family, hey, do you want to like book a party? This is super fun. Like asking people, not being afraid to ask, and really just, again, that's going to take time, right? It's going to take time. It always takes time to get the ball rolling and to dedicate. And again, there's ebbs and flows. Like, I mean, I talked to somebody recently with an interview, and she was saying like we were talking about best months and worst months when it comes to permanent jewelry, like monetary. And she was saying like, the worst months I've had were, honestly, I can think, were down to me, like not really following up with people, not putting myself out there, when I kind of felt like I was, just not feeling like I wanted to. I saw the effects in my business. And I have to say the same when I'm not maybe showing up in my stories enough or talking about things enough and following up with people that said they're interested in parties, but yeah, I didn't follow up. Like these are things that I know there's always options. There's so many things you can do for marketing right now in the world, right? Whether it be social media, whether it be really just like talking to your friends and family, whether it be again going the Google route and focusing on your website. There really is so many things you can do to get yourself out there. But also, there is a little bit more work in the start of it, because I have to say, although I have my slow months where I feel like, okay, I could have probably booked this if I would have done this, whatever. But I do feel like that I put a lot of work in the beginning and have grown it with, again, putting myself out there, getting in touch, influencers, having, hosting my own event, things that I've done in the first year of business, especially the first like 6 months. Now people are coming to me, right? More. So I'm not having to work as much to get my name out there, but it's still a consistent thing. I don't care where you are in business. That's why Nike, I mean, they're pretty established, right? But there's still commercials out there for Nike. It's like you're always wanting to just stay fresh, stay in communication with your customers, letting people know you're there. And again, that takes time. It can all get systemized, but depending on how much time you have to dedicate to those things. And I'll leave it there. I feel like those three factors, having a passion for permanent jewelry, whether it be the beauty of it, whatever aspect of permanent jewelry that you love, there has to be a passion there. Number two, do you love people? And number three, time. Just having the time. If you have no weekend availability, it's going to be a little hard to grow a permanent jewelry business. So, that is my opinion. That is what I found so far in growing my permanent jewelry business. I hope you find some value from this. And if you have any questions, of course, as always, reach out. I'm on Instagram at Goldie Links Society. And I look forward to hearing from you. Okay, we'll talk soon. Well, how do you feel? I hope this episode inspired you in some way. I would love to hear from you. So visit me on Instagram at Goldie Links Jewelry or at my website at goldie-links.com. I'm always down to chat. Have a golden day, and I'll see you next time.